afternoon to all of you who are joining us from all over the world. My name is Brijendra Rochan Joshi, member of Founders Toastmaster Club and Division Club Growth Team organizing this event. On behalf of Division A, District 41, I extend our warm welcome to Mark Brown and you all to this exciting special session, Fearless Presentations with Mark Brown. I shall begin with few house rules for online meeting. By attending this remote area division or district special session, you agree to the privacy policy of Toastmasters International as well as the unassociated remote hosting service. Some of your personal information such as name, image, and any shared messages may be shared with other meeting participants and will be recorded by Toastmasters International, who may use the recording in the future as it sees fit. Your remote attendance hereby discharges Toastmasters International from all claims, demands, rights, promises, damages, and liability arising out of or in connection with the use or distribution of said video recordings, including but not limited to any claims for invasion of privacy or defamation. During the event, the video will be disabled and sounds muted, except for the presenters. The chat will be disabled except for the question and answer round. For many guests who are present here today, Toastmasters International started in 1924, offers public speaking and leadership skill through a worldwide network of 16,800 plus clubs in 143 countries. Toastmasters in Nepal started in 1991. It took 13 years to start the second club in 2004. The momentum gathered speed from 2016 when two areas were formed after joining District 41. At the end of Toastmaster year in 2019, we had 18 clubs. This year, we have broken all past records by adding 16 more clubs, including 2 clubs during the current lockdown. It reflects the intensity of the current leadership to offer service to members who join Toastmasters, where leaders are made. Guests who are joining this session today will know why we are so passionate about being a Toastmaster. I would like to acknowledge the presence of District Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Jennifer Ghosh, District Program Quality Director, Toastmaster Nimesh Joseph, District Club Growth Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Ranjit Acharya, and Division Director, Division A, Distinguished Toastmaster Suman Sakhe, and all the leadership team of District 41 and beyond. Along with this, I would also like to welcome leaders from different fraternity of Nepal. Deepak Raj Joshi, former CEO of Nepal Tourism Board. Cabinet Sester, Managing Director, Agni Group. Hem Lekhai, Chairman, Gates College. And our own national player from Nepal cricket team, Sarad Beswakar. Now, moving on to the next section, we have the launch of Division A newsletter, Inspire. I welcome Toastmaster Alpha Sakya. Alpha Sakya is the editor for Division A. She is also the Vice President, Education at KU SOM Toastmaster Club. She is the district first runner-up of the International Speech Contest 2019. Alpha is a winner of Writer by Heart and a business graduate by education. Over to you, Toastmaster Alpha.
Thank you, Toastmaster Brijendra, for that warm welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Toastmasters and guests from all around the world. French-Cuban-American writer Anais Nin has a saying. She says, "We write to taste life twice, once in the moment, and the next time in retrospect." This is also the very aim of the division editorial team at Division A. To live the Toastmasters life that we so cherish, not just once, but twice, in the moment and in retrospect. Inkspire is the newsletter of Division A, District 41. It gets its name from the fusion of two words, ink and inspire, which was given by none other than our very own District 41 Club Growth Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Ranjit Acharya. The third issue of Inkspire, the editing team, the designing team, the club representatives from all the clubs have collaborated with 6 areas across the division to bring to you a bird's eye view of the activities happening in Division A, along with the stories and experiences of our members. It is our honor to unveil the newsletter, which has been brought to life after numerous iterations and improvisations this evening with all of you here. On behalf of the entire team, to virtually unveil the cover of the third issue and to launch it, let me invite the 1995 World Champion of Public Speaking, Mark Brown, along with District 41 Club Growth Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Ranjit Acharya, and Division A Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Suman Shakya. Please hold the cover of Inkspire to your cameras and launch it for all of us here. Request our tech master to take a photograph of the same.
Yeah, done.
Now, may I request the contributors of this issue, along with the district officers of Division A and the PR team, to turn on the cameras and display the cover of our newly launched newsletter. Would like to request the tech master once again to take another photograph.
Done.
Thank you so much, everyone. Inkspire Issue 3 has now been officially launched. The wonderful smiles that you have just witnessed on the screen belong to none other than our contributors who have made Inkspire come to life. Without all the contributors, Inkspire would merely be an empty page. Gratitude to each and every one of them for writing for Inkspire. Thank you to Alexander Wigley, Chandan Gupta for being a part of the editing team, to Wright Weavers for the design, and to our division director, Distinguished Toastmaster Suman, for having our back all the time. Thank you is the least we can say. Now, may I request our tech master, Toastmaster Amit, to play a short video as we look into what this issue holds. Thank you. On the cover of third issue of Inkspire are 2 photographs that highlight Citation 2019, the annual conference of Division A. On the top photograph, we have Toastmasters International President, Distinguished Toastmaster Deepak Menon addressing our community. And in the other photograph, we have the recipient of the Communicator Award, the voice of Radio Nepal, Krishna Tamrakar. We announced a special award for the area with the highest number of contributions in the third issue. And at this moment, we would like to congratulate Area A3 for having the highest number of submissions on Inkspire Issue 3. Area A3 is led by Area Director Toastmaster Ankit Goenka. A huge congratulations to Area 3 and all its contributors. Once again, thank you to all our wonderful contributors. Now it's time for each one of us to have our own copy of Inkspire. To get your own copy, Log in to toastmastersnepal.com/newsletters, where you will see not just the current issue, but also the previous two. We hope you will take some time out to go through the pages that has been warmly presented by our entire team. I hope to see you soon with the fourth issue. The story continues. Handing the virtual stage back to Toastmaster Brijender. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Toastmaster Alpha, and thank you. Now, I would also like to acknowledge the presence of Gunaras Lutel, senior journalist and editor at Republica. Now, to give a welcome remark, I would like to welcome our division director, distinguished Toastmaster Suman Sakhe, who thought about inviting Mark Brown to Nepal virtually and made this event possible. He will also be introducing our speaker, Mark Brown, and moderating the session. Distinguished Toastmaster Suman Sakhe is a Division A Director, District 41, Toastmasters International for the term 2019-20. A member since 2004, his home club is Everest Toastmaster Club. Toastmaster Suman is a consultant, trainer, and an entrepreneur. He is associated with Tanzan Waves, Smart Pani, Rooster Logic, and Nepal Entrepreneurs Hub. He has been professionally active for over 25 years and has been an adjunct faculty of strategy and marketing at business schools. He is also the person who introduced me to the wonderful journey of Toastmasters and many more. Over to you, Toastmaster Suman.
Thank you, Toastmaster Vijendra. Dream big, work bigger. If you receive a mail from Mark Brown, below his signature will be written these words, dream big, work bigger. I was inspired by these words to make this virtual event the biggest event of Toastmasters in Nepal. We have even surprised ourselves. 1,200 plus registrations and the current count of 1,814 participants already in. We are stoked. Thank you everyone, members and guests who are attending this special session by Mark Brown. This event is a reflection of how Toastmasters in Nepal are leading from the front and providing their service to the community to ensure that what we learn in Toastmasters is passed around and shared. At Division A, we had a phenomenal growth this year as more members embrace Toastmasters to be their way of life, becoming a better speaker and a better leader. I thank my area directors, 6 of them, Distinguished Toastmaster Moon Pradhan, Toastmasters Ravi Mainali, Toastmaster Ankit Goenka, Toastmaster Prashant Shrestha, Toastmaster Avish Acharya, Toastmaster Pankaj Pradhananga, along with our division mentors, Toastmaster Anish Dikshit, Toastmaster Bhanu Tawari, and Toastmaster Saurav Lohani. And not to forget, our partner in crime, the current CGD of District 41, Distinguished Toastmaster Ranjit Acharya. We have started to reach out not just amongst our members, but also to other organizations, such as Rotary and JCs. In fact, just last Saturday, there was an event where all these 3 organizations came together. We are so happy to share the learnings. In fact, if some of you do not know, at the international level, Toastmasters International and Rotary have started to work together. There's been a series of communication between them. And in fact, just last week, the first 2 online courses for Rotary has been launched exclusively to be worked for at Rotary. And I got to know from our local leaders here that they had been given the initial outline of how this course is going to be. And I'm happy to state that Rotarian Prafulla Mansingh Pradhan, a senior Rotarian here and a wonderful expert, had reached out to me and shared that learning in his feedback to Rotary, which will go to Toastmasters International. We are trying to see so many more organizations and individuals trying to work together and see how we can actually benefit from the learnings of Toastmasters. I have shared earlier too that when I began my career, I was not a good speaker at all. In fact, it was a terrifying moment to go there in front and speak. Right through my student life, my college life, and initial professional stage, I used to be terrified. And I know how each one of you might feel the knots in your stomach, the butterflies, and the trembling hands, the sweaty palms, all that are there. I had to work on my own and learn brick upon brick to be able to speak. I wish I knew about Toastmasters in the early 90s when I could have become a better speaker then. However, better late than never. I was introduced to Toastmasters in 2004, and there has been no looking back since then. In fact, I found that there was a method to a madness of being able to speak well in public. And what I learned is we evolve continuously. That is the beauty of what Toastmasters does. If you need to tell me what I like about Toastmasters, it is going into a meeting knowing that you are going into a group of individuals where they also share your passion of learning. And you will receive feedback in a very honest and candid manner. You are able to make mistakes that you normally cannot do in your professional life outside, and they'll be there to tell you and guide you and say that, look, Suman, this is where you have gone wrong. Maybe this is where you might want to correct yourself. And that's how we are able to learn. As we have seen that our learning grows, we join different conferences and seminars. And 2 years ago, I attended along with many Toastmasters in Nepal, Oration 2018, organized by District 41. There, I met Mark Brown. Oh my goodness, he was amazing, so inspirational, mesmerizing, to the fact that I said that, look, this person can articulate his thoughts so much that, yes, I need to go up to him and invite him to Kathmandu. When I did go, I found him to be such a down-to-earth individual, very easy to talk to, and he said in his very heavy voice that you'll hear after some time, Suman, if I can make my time, I will come to Nepal. I wish I could be a fraction of what he does with his voices. And here we are, after 2 years, Mark Brown is here. His reputation precedes the person. Mark Brown, as you all know now, is the 1995 world champion of public speaking. He has delivered over 3,500 presentations to 1.7 million individuals across 5 continents. What more can you say about him? Some of the major corporations include the Sheraton, Cathay Pacific, Sprint, and so many others. Mark is also a co-author of The Speaker's Edge and co-host of the weekly Unforgettable Presentation podcast. Please join me in welcoming Mark virtually to Nepal for a special session, Fearless Presentation. Join me in welcoming Mark to the stage in Nepal. A virtual applause. Mark, over to you. The virtual stage is yours.
Namaste, my friend. Greetings to one and all, and special thank you to Director Suman and his team for the invitation to be with such a wonderful group. Over 800 individuals are here today. It's morning for me, it's evening for most of you, and I must tell you how thrilled I am and thankful for this opportunity. You know, I have met Toastmasters around the world, and I regretted not being able to attend, to receive and respond to an invite to come to Nepal about a year ago. But I'm happy to be here today and just kind of share some thoughts with you about my experience as a Toastmaster and as a presenter. So please sit back, relax. I will have some polls today, and please feel free to respond honestly. I hope you will. And if you hear a golden nugget, just give me a reaction with the reaction button. Give me a thumbs up or a little wave, and I'll appreciate that. So I know you're still there. You aren't all falling asleep yet. Again, thank you for the honor of serving you. You know, in my travels, I've met so many people who have come to Toastmasters because they've had to deal with a fear of public speaking. So right away, I'm going to ask you all to participate in our first poll of the day. Our first poll of the day, and just please give me an honest answer. There are 5 options to the question. I'm reluctant to speak because. I'm reluctant to speak because. I'm going to ask you to respond to that poll. You got about a minute to respond, and there are 5 options. I'm shy, don't like my voice, don't like how I look. I was told I'm not good, be quiet, don't speak. And I don't have anything important to say. I see quickly people are responding. Thank you so much for that. And again, your honesty is the key for this poll to work, because I promise you one thing. I'll be really honest with you today. You'll get to know me a little bit, and you'll get to know the person I am, and you'll see that behind the title is someone just like you. So responses are flooding in very, very quickly. I appreciate that. Over 500 so far. About 69% of you have voted. And I thank you for the rapidity of your responses. I'll give you a few more seconds. People are still voting quickly. Excellent. Thank you so very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We're going through. Okay, I see you. I'm going to give you 30 more seconds to get the poll completed. This is wonderful. Thank you all so much. And again, you're being very, very honest with your responses, and I deeply appreciate that. We'll give you about 15 more seconds to get your responses in, and we'll look at the results, all right? Okay. You've got a chance for your last 10 seconds to get your responses in. We're just over 82% responses, and it's still coming in. Excellent, excellent, excellent. 5 more seconds. All right, let's see. Okay, we've been at this for 1 minute and 45 seconds. So I'm going to close the poll down in about 5 more seconds at 1:50 and take a look at our results. Okay, we have 673 votes, and percentages are 5% don't like how I look, 6% I was told be quiet, 35% I have nothing important to say. We'll talk about that today. And 46% of you said, I am shy. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your honesty about that. I really, really appreciate that. Now, help me out very quickly and just give me a wave or a thumbs up with the reaction. If you've ever heard the statement, the fear of public speaking is worse than the fear of death. Have you ever heard that? Give me a thumbs up or a wave in the reaction. Yes, I see them all over. The fear of public speaking is worse than the fear of death. Well, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to ask you to do me a favor, okay? Please listen carefully. Do not believe what I call a big, fat lie. Fear of public speaking, people don't fear that. People don't fear speaking. You know what? We speak in public every single day. We say words like, namaste. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Hello, can I help you? May I buy that? We speak in public every single day. We don't fear public speaking, my friends. What we do fear is public embarrassment. What we do fear is public humiliation. That's true. We worry about what people will think. And the fear is not so much of the act of speaking, it's how people are going to respond to what we say and how we look. And the issue begins right here between our ears, not between our headphones, between our ears. It has to do with our thoughts. The truth is, our thoughts can be threats, and our words can be weaknesses. Our thoughts can be threats. Our words can be weaknesses. And we tell ourselves things all the time to make us feel, well, you know, I'm not that good. I'm shy. I don't want to speak. I'm not stylish. Well, I don't like my voice. Well, Mark Brown's a really cool radio voice. He's got a good voice. I don't sound like him. That's okay. It's the voice God gave you. Well, Mark, sometimes, I get really nervous when I'm on stage. And even though very few of you said you don't like your voice, very few mention that you don't think you look good. For many people, if they're really being honest, they don't consider themselves worthy to be looked at, not as attractive. Now, if I look at my screen, I see several profile pictures, and some of y'all look really good. Now, I apologize. All I have to offer is this. It's the only face I have. It's not the most amazing face in the world. It's the only one I have, so I apologize for that. But I'll be honest, though. I'll tell you what. There are times I consider myself not that attractive. Part of my problem is this. I'm married to a beautiful woman. People see me, they like me. They see Andrea, they love her. She is lovely, she is gorgeous, and they got me. And you may say, Mark, come on, you look okay. But I didn't always think that. Remember I said our thoughts can be threats? I'll be really honest. One of the issues I had to deal with as a kid growing up that affected how I communicated was the fact I believed that I was unattractive. Now, if you got to see me as a kid, you might agree because I was a goofy kid. I was a very, very goofy kid. I'm talking very goofy kid, okay? My thought was, man, I am just so unattractive. That was me as a little kid. And it didn't get much better as I got older. I always thought look at those trousers, man. It's too short. My belt's all askew. And at one point, I was cool. I began to wear longer ties. But please don't ask me why my tie was under my belt. See, I was a kid with the buck teeth and the floppy ears, and my teeth had a gap in the middle. And I just didn't think I was attractive or to look good. I was 12 years old. I remember one day, I was 12 years old. I went to an all-boys school, and it was my responsibility to go get my sister at her girls' school. She was 11 years old. I'd walk to her school and wait for her outside. I was able to get on the compound, and I was close to her classroom one day, and they were about to dismiss class. And I remember I was looking down the corridor, and I thought to myself, wait, her classmates can see my profile and they'll see this, my mouth is all jutting out, I'm unattractive. And I forced myself to turn away and not even face the classroom because I was so self-conscious, so aware of what I looked like, I thought nobody's gonna wanna see me. I was 12 years old and that was a thought inside my head. So the truth is, our thoughts can be threats, and our words to our own words can be weaknesses. Our thoughts can be threats, and our words can be weaknesses. In our poll earlier, 35% of you said this: I have nothing to say. 35% of you said, I have nothing to say. So let's do this. Let's take a second poll right now based upon the question, I have nothing important to say because I'm going to stop my sharing, okay? And look you in the eye and say this. Be honest. In my mind, I have nothing to say. Here are your options. Why? Because nothing exciting ever happens to me. Go ahead and start responding. I have no personal accomplishment. I'm no world champion like Mark Brown. And I don't have a sensational story. Or I'm not famous. I'm no celebrity. We're all here, over 800 of us, because you're told Mark Brown, a celebrity, a Toastmasters world champion, is in the house. I really appreciate you coming. But what words do you use to yourself? What thoughts are you feeding about your own value, your own worth, the things that you bring to the table, what you have to offer? Many of us say, nothing exciting happens to me. I have no accomplishments, and I don't have a sensational story. I'm not famous. I'm not a celebrity. I can walk down the street, and nobody ever thinks for a second about me. Some people actually think they're invisible. And if you feel that way, you may think again that nothing important ever happens to you. I appreciate that after a minute, over 69% of you have voted. I'm going to let this poll sit for a little while longer because I really want to know how you think. I want to know how you feel. I want to know how you view your words and your value. So I ask one more time for complete honesty. I'm going to give it a few more minutes, a few more seconds before we close the poll down. So I want to cover some very, very important things about your life and what you need to know, what you need to speak, what you need to say, what you need to experience. Okay. I'm going to give it 10 more seconds to the 2-minute mark before we close the polling out. And the countdown begins. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to close the poll right now and take a look at what we got. Okay. Nothing happens to me, 13%. Interesting. I'm not famous, also 13%. I have no accomplishments, 36%. And I don't have a sensational story, 38%. Friends, I'll be honest. There's nothing wrong with your responses. Indeed, I totally agree with you when you think you have no sensational story. Now, I said earlier, our thoughts can be threats, okay? And our words can be weaknesses. When I tell myself I don't have an exciting story, when I tell myself I don't have an accomplishment, what I'm saying is, in order for my words to be valuable, I have to have accomplished something. I submit to you, no, that's not true. I submit to you, friends, in order for your words to be valuable, you simply have had to live. Because we all come from different places, different experiences, and it doesn't make a difference where we are from or what we have accomplished. I believe all of us have experiences that need to be shared. You know, people give me a whole bunch of excuses why they can't tell their story. It's not sensational or haven't done anything fantastic. Here's some of the things I hear people tell me. They say, well, Mark, you understand, you know, I'm not really qualified to say anything. I mean, you said it. I haven't accomplished anything fantastic. And we believe we equate accomplishment with qualifications. So one lie we tell ourselves is, well, I'm not qualified to do anything. I say this, you don't need a piece of paper to say you are qualified. Now, don't get me wrong. I value education. The truth is, I had that problem. You see, I don't have a piece of paper with a BA or a BSc or an MA or an MSc or a PhD. My paper says MLB, Mark L. Brown. You see, I live in the USA now. And here's the truth. That skinny, knock-kneed, buck-teeth, floppy-eared kid in the picture, I was 18 when I came to America. I had 2 suitcases of clothes. I had $40 US and a high school education. I'm going to pause there for a second. I was introduced to you as a world champion speaker who was delivered 3,500 speeches to 1.7 million people on 5 continents, and it sounds great. But you have to understand the journey I have taken and from whence I have come. And know this, my friends, you and I are on a journey, a quest for excellence. When I was 18 with $40, I thought I was unqualified. My goal was to go to university. That didn't happen. When Andrea and I got married, the goal was to go to school at night. She'd get a job. We'd have 2 incomes. I could afford to go to school. And God blessed us with a beautiful princess, Andreen. And we made a decision right then. Andrea would stay home and be mom. I'd go to work. Here's the truth. I don't have a college education. Let me stop sharing for a second. I don't have a college education. I don't have a degree. But I have a heart to serve others. And I know God gives us all individual gifts. And He has given us a vehicle to share what we have. It's our words, our thoughts, our ideas, our passions, ourselves. And I was so intimidated by not having a piece of paper. I went to work at Reader's Digest, a great publishing company. I was in IT, and I would go out with my friends at lunch. And I would always make an excuse to leave early. Hey guys, I got to finish my project. I'll see you later. You know why? They would discuss college. Oh, we had a great time at university. We had all these great parties. Oh, at the center, we had great programs. We had plays. We had lectures. We had guest speakers. College was great. I learned so much. And as I would tell these stories, I would literally just kind of shrink away, and make excuses to not even be in their presence, because in my mind, I was unqualified. So here's a question. Have you ever felt you were unqualified? You were unworthy. You didn't deserve to be in the company of others, and therefore you didn't have anything to say? I ask you right now to banish the thought. You think you're unqualified? No. Some people say, well, I tried before and it didn't work. Therefore, in my mind, I'm a failure. I'm a failure. It didn't work. I didn't accomplish anything. I tried to give a speech. It bombed. I didn't go well. I will never do it again. I'm a failure. Well, here's my thought. And you can screenshot this if you want to. You can get pictures if you want to. I'm going to tell you right now, just because you failed, it doesn't mean you're a failure. Just because you failed, it doesn't mean you're a failure. So I'm going to ask you right now to banish the thought that I am a failure with a big red X over that. All of us at some point fail. It doesn't mean we're failures. I somehow found Toastmasters, and I was intimidated even then. Here's truth. I went to my first Toastmasters meeting in December of 1992. I'd just gone to work at Reader's Digest, and a friend of mine said, hey, Mark, we have a Toastmasters club. You should join it. Now, I heard the word Toastmasters. I said, oh, I have heard of that before. My uncle came to New York, and he told me about Toastmasters. See, my uncle, the late Supreme Court judge from Jamaica, Justice Courtney Orr, was the first Toastmaster in Jamaica back in the 1980s. He brought the program there, and he told me about it. So when I heard Toastmasters, I thought, well, my uncle does that. If he can do it, well, so can I. And I went to my first Toastmasters meeting, and I was overwhelmed by the people who were there. They were very good speakers. And I became a guest at my Reader's Digest Toastmasters Club in December of 1992. And I became a member after being a guest for 4 months. That's right. Mark Brown, world champion, was concerned that he didn't fit. I had failed at other things. I don't want to do this. I didn't see myself as a speaker. It took me 4 months to pick up a pen and sign an application. If you're a guest today, or first time hearing about Toastmasters, please don't wait as I did. Don't make that mistake. It's a wonderful opportunity to learn, to grow, to develop a skill of communication. See, at Reader's Digest, I'd seen the notice board, job postings. Back then, they actually posted jobs on a thing called paper, on a thing called a notice board on a wall. Now everything is done online. But they had various positions: chief financial officer, somebody in the mailroom, an admin assistant, somebody in information technology. And no matter what the job requirement was, there was one common denominator. Excellent verbal and written communication skills are required. Guess what? To live and survive, we need to communicate. Yet it took me 4 months to join my club because I thought I was not good enough. My background held me back. My thoughts held me captive. My own words proved to be my weakness. So what happened? I backed off. But you may think you're a failure. No. You may be afraid because you find yourself intimidated. And maybe you are afraid. Maybe you're afraid not because of what your own thoughts are. Maybe you're afraid because of what you believe the audience's thoughts are. So let's do this. Let's take one more poll. Let's take one more poll real quickly, okay? And I want you to respond to this. I am afraid because of what I think the audience thinks. So I'll show you again so it's very clear what the poll is going to ask you to do, okay? I'm afraid because the audience thinks. Now, I'm going to give you a few options. And click on the one which best supports how you feel. I'm afraid because the audience thinks I don't know what I'm talking about. They know more than I do. They could do a better job than me. I don't look professional enough, and other speakers are better than I am. Okay? I don't know what I'm talking about. This is what they think, not what you think, what your audience thinks when they see you. They think, I don't know what I'm talking about. They think they know more than I do. They think they're better than I am. They think I don't look professional enough. Or they think other speakers are better than I am. Again, about half have responded so far. Let's let this poll run. And I'll tell you why I asked this question. I want to focus on two things. One, our own thoughts, and two, the thoughts of our audience, how we perceive what they think. Thank you for your responses so far. In under a minute, we've got a 74% response, and the results are really getting interesting. So thank you so much. We'll give it up for 30 more seconds to get some more results in. They're still coming in. And again, thank you for your honesty. Thank you so much for your honesty. Excellent, excellent. We'll give it about 15 more seconds to end the poll, and I'll talk a little bit about what I see in your comments so far. All right. This is good. We're going to end the poll now. Okay. We have about 687 responses, and the results are as follows. I believe the audience think they could do a better job, only 8%. I don't look good enough, or 15%. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know my topic, 12%. That's interesting. 70%, they more than me, they know more than me, but 48, almost half who responded said, other speakers are better than I am. So in your mind, the attendees think other people are better. Now here's a good part and a bad part with being Toastmasters. In Toastmasters, we have contests, and we judge who's a better speaker. And many of us who are contestants find ourselves looking over our shoulder. Oh no, she's competing. Oh, she's good. I don't know how I'm going to handle that. Now be honest. If you are a Toastmaster, guests, you don't need to respond to this. But if you're a Toastmaster, you've ever been in a contest, and you've ever thought to yourself, oh my gosh, they're competing. They always win. Give me a thumbs up or a wave with your emoticon real quick, your reactions. If you've ever felt that. Yeah. You know what happens? You devalue what you have to offer when you focus on somebody else. When you focus on somebody else, what happens is your thoughts lead to more conflict, more fear. I remember my first contest was 1994, and I had won all the way through what was called region back then in the dark ages. That's right. I won my contest in the previous millennium. And trust me, I have the VHS videotape to prove it, all right? We had club, area, division, district, region, now called semifinals. I won my region in 1994, but I failed to win the world championship in 94. I didn't even place. I didn't even come second or third. I didn't place at all. I just didn't finish well. Well, the following year, I competed again, and I got to my region, and sure enough, there were individuals there who had also been in my semifinal the year before. And I heard a story that really made me think. I had been rehearsing my contest speech in the ballroom, and a fellow contestant who had been there in 94 when I beat him had come in to do the same thing, because contestants think alike. I want to go rehearse. I want to go feel the room. I'm going to practice my speech. I was in the room on the stage getting a feel for the stage. He walked in, saw me, he stopped, turned around, and walked away. My presence intimidated him. My presence created this fear, and he thought he could not be as good as I was because I beat him before. And very often what we think the audience thinks, what we think other people think, they drive us crazy. What will they think of me? That's a big question we all ask. And what happens is when that thought comes into our mind, everything else that went wrong begins to flood our thoughts. If we think someone doesn't like us, all of a sudden the world hates us. Be honest. Have you ever thought to yourself, everybody feels that way. Nobody likes me. Nobody thinks I'm good. If you're honest with yourself, your thoughts create your own fear. If you're honest with yourself, your thoughts create your own fear. How do I know that? Because I plead guilty of allowing my own thoughts to create the fear that keeps me from presenting. And the thing is, it's not the reality of my life, and it isn't the reality of yours. Here's truth. The fear you have, the fear you feel, has nothing to do with how competent you are at what you do. Nothing to do with it whatsoever. Quite honestly, I really believe that your fear has zero to do with your competence. In other words, fear does not equal incompetence. Anybody feel like that when you're going to speak? I have. No doubt I have. But the funny thing is this. What I think has been a lie for years. For years. Get this. In high school, my classmates wrote about me in the annual yearbook. That was me when I had hair, okay? If you can't read that well, check this out. They said I'm always seen in the center of a crowd relating one of his experiences to his listeners. They saw me as a speaker. My high school classmates back in the 1970s saw me as a speaker, and my fear told me different. I love this line. His listeners have to make sure they have their dictionaries with them for frequent consultations. And I confess I am a word nerd. But this realization, friends, taught me this. Your fear has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with your competence, okay? And you may think the audience is judging you. But here's the good news. Some really, really good news. Some really, really great news. You see your audience? They really, really, really want you to succeed. They want to stand and cheer. They want you to know that they appreciate your being there. And if you are not a Toastmaster today, and maybe you give talks at work or meetings and you got to present online, and you think, what will they think of me? Trust me. The audience is there. If they didn't believe you had value, they wouldn't be there in the first place. They've come to hear what you have to say, and they really, really want you to succeed. The thing is, it's not easy the first time. It really isn't easy the first time. And they want you to succeed. And I believe all things are difficult until they become easy. Wise words by Sadi back in the 13th century. So where do you begin? What's the first thing you can do? Don't tackle difficult subjects. I love what Toastmasters does. It gives you the icebreaker, a chance to talk about yourself. Now, some people say, I shouldn't talk about myself. Trust me, it's your easiest topic. There's very little research you got to do. So tell your own story. So here's a thought I want to share with you, okay? Remember, your audience wants you to succeed. And the best place to start is with your own story. And sometimes your story, I go back to the first poll, need not be sensational. It just has to be sincere. It's funny. My wife and I are hosting a young man from Ghana. His name is Kofi. He came in August to live with us for a year to go to school here in Georgia. And of course, with COVID-19, he can't go to school now. He did his work online with a laptop, and he had his trumpet back with him. And he had to return his trumpet to school. And he had an experience that he thought was no big deal, okay? He went to the school to return his trumpet. And, well, I'll let him tell the story. This was on the news last night. It was the leading story on the 5:30 news, as in the main story. They opened a newscast with this very brief report. Check this out.
Our top story tonight at 5:30, a Macon exchange student is saying thank you to those who made sure he had the chance to take part in a high school tradition. Check out this video from Rutland High School when the coronavirus forced the Bibb County School District to push back graduation until July. Senior Coffee Jimfy would miss his ceremony since he was returning home to Ghana in June. But when he went to school to return his laptop, the school surprised him with an impromptu graduation.
Like, oh, what's happening? And she told me she's come to do my graduation for me right now. So she gave me the cap and gown, and I put them on. Then she made me go in front of the school. Then I walked from the front of the school till there's a small garden in front of the school. Then I had to get it wasn't my diploma, but it was something to replace my diploma. And it was a great thing for me. I was very happy.
Now, Kofi's principal says he is a straight A student and a positive fit for the Hurricane family. He says he plans to study pharmaceutical chemistry at the University of Ghana.
So here's the deal. Tell your story, okay? I'm going to give you some tips to help you feel confident telling your story because people do want to hear it. Trust me, you don't need a sensational story. So first thing I want to do is this. You want to maintain a story file. How do you do that? Whatever device you use. I have a thing called OneNote on Microsoft. I use OneNote and I keep my stories there. I've got, travel experiences. And I make notes to myself. And the cool thing with OneNote is it's a tool that I can sync to my mobile device. My mobile device, same program, same information, but people I've met. That's right. I did meet Fidel Castro in 1978. Some of you are reading that. I can tell you're reading that. Yes, yes, yes. And I met Patrick Ewing, a basketball player. I've met some wonderful people. And to me, that's stories. Okay. I could use a thing called Inkpad on my notepad, on my mobile device, my Android. Please don't hate me, all you wonderful iPhone users. But I can also sync that from my computer to my mobile device. And I have different topics: travel, doctor visits, dealing with the mechanic. Notice these are simple stories, simple ideas. They come to us, we got to write them down, keep track of them. Why? Because they can come in later. But Mark, again, I have no great story. How do I even find stories? Well, I'm going to give you some quick story starters, okay? And I call this my best and worst, last and first. Simply this: you take any topic, any noun, anything, and ask yourself, what was my best or my worst? For example, you could do job. My best job, my worst job. My best boss, my worst boss. My first car, my last car, right? You could do best and worst, last and first. What was my first apartment? What was it like? Or my worst neighbor? And if you look to work alone and look at your worst coworker, your worst manager, your best coworker, there are stories right there. I use my family as well. But every single day, stories occur around you, not just your personal story, but the experience you have. And here's my formula, a real quick formula for writing stories and finding stories and using stories, which I record in my OneNote device. Check this out. I ask 3 questions every single day. At the end of my day, I ask, what amazed you? What amused you? What moved you? It's emotional. What amazed you? What amused you? What moved you? Kofi's story moved me. When he came home from school last Tuesday, he said, Dad, this is what happened. It's no big deal. I said, what? That's moving to me. The thing is, you may think it's no big deal, but ask yourself, what amused me? And tonight, before you go to bed, write down one thing that amazed you, one that amused you, and one that moved you. But then take one more step and ask this question. What did you learn that you can share? What did you learn that you can share? Okay? What amazed you? What amused you? What moved you? What did you learn that you can share? Because you want to understand one truth, okay? One person's mundane is another person's magnificent. One person's mundane is another person's magnificent. And there's one truth you need to walk away with, okay? Record this, write this down, get it in your brain. Your story need not be sensational. It just needs to be sincere. Your story need not be sensational. It just needs to be sincere. You don't believe me? I'll share one short story with you. As I told you, I had come to America at 18 with $40 in my pocket, and I left my girlfriend back home. Her name was Andrea. Her name still is Andrea, and she's not my wife. My dad had moved to Florida, and I was going to fly back to Jamaica from New York through Florida. My dad's in West Palm Beach. The airport's in Miami, a 90-minute drive away. And Dad said, hey, son, when you're coming through Miami, I'll come meet you at the airport. We could talk. I said, no, Dad, it's a short transfer. It's not going to work. I said, okay, I'll catch you later. I got to Miami, and I was wrong. Had a longer transfer. So I went to a telephone booth. For you millennials, it's a box on the wall with numbers on it. You put a coin in, never mind. And I called my dad. I said, Dad, I'm at the airport. I got a longer transfer. Can you come see me? I'll be there as soon as I can, he said. Dad drove an hour and a half to meet me. We sat down to have some lemonade in a little cafe back in the day when you could actually be in the airport where somebody's going to be before 9/11. And we sat there for about 7 minutes, and I heard it. All Air Jamaica passengers, flight 016 to Kingston, now boarding at gate number 5. Thank you. Dad, it's my flight. I know, son. Hey, it's good seeing you. Say hi to Andrea. I love you. Talk to you soon. He hugged me. He turned to walk away. I grabbed my small bag and began to make my way to gate number 5, and I froze. I did the mathematics. My father had driven an hour and a half from West Palm Beach to see me. He was turning around to drive back an hour and a half, a total of 3 hours, to spend 7 minutes with me. That's a dad. And I have 3 kids myself, and I would hope and I would pray that I'd be half the dad my father was and what he will always be to me. Because that's what dads do for their kids. God, make me as good a dad as mine was. If you felt any emotion at all, use your reaction. Give me a thumbs up or a wave if you felt any emotion at all from that story. Okay, I'm seeing some waves and some thumbs. Were there any car crashes? Any gunfire? Any explosions? No. Did I cut my arm off and climb a mountain? Did I climb Mount Everest uphill, backwards, barefoot, both ways? No. There was nothing sensational there. It was just a simple, honest story of a man who loves his son. We keep thinking we need a great, powerful life with fantastic experiences and awesome things happen to us. We have to have accomplished something, won the world championship for our story to be valid. No. Guess what? Your audience is not all going to be world champions. Your audience is just like you. They share your same emotions, the same 6 common emotions of happiness, sadness, anger, fear, surprise, and disgust. They're parents too. They have kids, spouses, they have job concerns. We're all going through COVID-19 together. So your story is our story. And your story may be about you, but it's for us. Well, you need to hear it. And you start by telling your story. Use these tips and tools. Use the best and worst, last and first. Go over your day. What amazed you? What amused you? What moved you? Go through all of that. Start there. It's a matter of step-by-step progress. Because your story is valuable. I believe everyone out here has a story. And your life tells a story. And there's someone out there who needs to hear it. We're on this journey. You start with your story. You start to answer these questions. And progress is a process. You don't become great right away. It took me 4 months to go to my first meeting. I didn't become a world champion right away. I had to learn and had to grow. I had to get mentors like David Brooks, the world champion in 1990, who saw value in me and helped me. There are people in your club, in your area. If you're not even a Toastmaster, Toastmasters is the place to go to begin this journey. And progress is a process. You have ups and downs. You have twists and turns. You go back, you go down, you go up and around. But eventually, guess what? You're going to end up at your goal. Because friends, the truth is, this life, this idea of becoming better communicators, it's a journey. And if we are afraid to take the first step, we'll never get there. But if we change the way we think, if we hold our thoughts captive, if we understand the words we speak to ourselves need to be changed, if we shift the way we think on this journey, and we believe our thoughts make us strive, if we believe our words share our wisdom, then we can build the level of confidence that we need. So here's a thought. We build our confidence and our competence in our house. When I say our house or your house, what do I mean? I don't mean where you dwell right now. In part, I'm saying right now, your house is your club. That was me installing my club offices a couple of years ago when I had less weight around my belly, okay? But your club is your house. I'm going to ask you all to change the way you think. Don't be so hard on yourselves. Don't expect the audience to not like you. Trust me. Trust me. The audience wants you to succeed, not to fail. The audience wants you to triumph, not to be in trial. If you change the way you think, if you adjust your thoughts, if you tell yourself, my words have value, if you believe with all your heart that what you say is important, then I believe the world will hear from you the story you need to tell. I have one more thought to share with you, but I realize before I do that, I need to take some questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to return control to the one who will marshal this part of our meeting And I'll take a few questions and I'll leave one closing thought before I end this program. Remember, your thoughts will make you thrive. And with your words, you will share your wisdom. Banish the fear of public speaking. Speak. Let us hear what you have to say. Tell us your life. Give us your experience. We want to know you. And I'm eager to hear that each of you have gained the confidence and the knowledge that you can and you should share your story. Mr. Division Director.
Thank you very much, Mark Brown. Words are not enough to express our thoughts and gratitude to you for doing this. And for the listeners there, we enter into our question and answers round. I have made so many notes and I do not know where to start and where to end, but there's so many takeaways, Mark. There are so many. And one thing that really touched me, that did touch me earlier on also, that our stories need not be sensational. And I think that's a wonderful takeaway, that we need to be sincere and connect with different kind of emotions and ensure that whatever we see, as you said, maybe 3 things in a day of what amused you, what moved you, and what amazed you. If we start to take notes, I'm definitely sure that we are going to be fearless speakers. We have a long way to go though, and I'm happy that members and guests are still there. A big 757, as I can still count on the screen. And to have that big number here, it's absolutely amazing. So I have a team who is going to curate the questions, and they are going to send it to me.
Yes.
But what I picked up on when you talked about contests and Toastmasters, we have these contests. We also have our division winners. And they will be competing at the district contest virtually this time from 16th of May. And they are preparing. They are preparing. And they have some questions to you. So I may not be looking into the camera as I read the questions to you. What I've done is to get the questions. So I'm getting questions in a flurry. I think the chat room has been opened and the chats are coming in. So first one, I think I would want to take up from Toastmaster Asira Khanal, who is the division table topics winner, Mark.
Yes.
And what she asked is, I'm going to ask you in a bunch rather than going back and forth. So maybe a couple of questions that she has is, one is, we all know that we can prepare our speeches and then come in and talk to an audience. So you memorize or do something. Different people have different techniques, but the challenge is to be able to speak impromptu. And her question hovers around that. And she asked, I'm going to read out the questions to you. How to exercise spontaneity in thinking, how to look lively and natural through camera, now that we are interacting so much on Zoom and other platforms, and what do you see in a winning table topic speech? Possibly if you are an audience or an evaluator or a judge, what do you see? Is that okay, Mark, for these?
That's fine. That's fine. I can give you an opinion. I'm not the world's best judge, but first of all, a table topics response is a mini speech. So if you can craft your response with an opening line that reframes the question you've been asked and give an opinion, support that opinion with an example, maybe a short story, a statistic, a poll result, and then conclude, it becomes a 2 to 3 minute mini speech that you deliver to the audience. In terms of being spontaneous, now I tell you how I cheat on table topics. How I cheat is I get the question and I ask Mr. Topic Master, please repeat the question. And I ask for the question for the repeat, and the repeat gives me time to formulate my thoughts. But before I even ask for the repetition, I listen for a key word in the question that'll trigger a thought, an experience I may have had. And for me, once I hear that key word, I begin to decide where I want to take this discussion. And in the process of asking for the repeat of the question, I begin to formulate a little story. Okay, I know what story is going to fit there, but I'm always thinking. Before all of that, just be aware of what's happening around you in the world every single day. Be aware what's happening in your family, in your neighborhood. An interesting news report or an article on the newspaper, just capture that in your thought. Be able to respond and practice table topics. How? Having conversations with people. Every conversation can be a rehearsed table topic. And you begin to become adept at being conversational. That will help you in table topics.
Possibly you missed out on how to look lively and natural.
To look lively on the camera, I say this: focus on your friends behind the lens. Sometimes people put little stickers on their computer by the lens and look here. So you put it right there and you force yourself to look here at the camera. I put my family behind the lens and I look at them as if they're there and I want to share myself with them. I want to be fully me. So I say, focus on your friends behind the lens and be yourself. Don't restrict your movement. Don't overdo it. Just be yourself. Be authentic.
Thank you, Mark. I'm sure many members and guests would have these takeaways along with Toastmaster Asira. So moving on to the next question. This is interesting, Mark. Everyone wants to be humorous and make people laugh. So we have our division winner, Toastmaster Kushma Casey, asking these questions. I'm again going to ask him a bunch if there's something that we cannot get, and I'll repeat that question.
Yes.
In a humorous speech, what is the art for the build-up before the punchline? I'll repeat. In a humorous speech, what is the art for the build-up before the punchline? Second is, do you write the speech thinking that the audience will find it funny, or just go with what you find funny? And do you build a story on a joke, or jokes are added after the story? Which one is better?
Oh, it's a three-part question. Okay. What was the first part again?
So the first one is, in a humorous speech, what is the art for the build-up before the punchline?
Okay. So, that has to do with tension. And there's a couple of things I've learned about being humorous. I didn't consider myself funny. I tell people I'm not funny. I'm only funny looking. I tell people that, okay? But the build-up is couple of things. One, if you can create tension, and the humor generally comes from the unexpected, okay? The humor generally comes from the unexpected. So the audience is being led in one particular direction. And at the last minute, you derail the train, you redirect, and it will ease the tension. Humor often, for me, comes from a situation. So in other words, I don't try to create or make it funny, because I realize if something happens that I find funny, it's also possible somebody else will find it funny. And I don't build a speech around a joke per se. I'd rather build a speech around a humorous situation and get the humor from the characters, what they say, how they react. Because very often when you relive a scene, it is the reaction that gets people to laugh, okay? So I don't say build a speech around a joke. And I don't try to insert jokes into my presentations. It's like I'm adding something. I try to uncover the humor in a situation. And very often humor comes over time from something difficult. We can laugh about it later. So first of all, the punchline has to come, depends on the build-up. If you can build tension, send the audience in one direction, and then you can yank it away. And they, oh, that was funny. And number two, look for humorous situations or find the humor in a situation. Whatever you go through, what's funny about that? And I find for me, it's easier to laugh at myself first. Something I did or said that was kind of funny. I don't want to laugh at people or make somebody the butt of my jokes. Don't have humor at someone's expense. And I don't build around a joke or a humor situation. I look at a speech first. What do I want to talk about? What's my message? And what can I find funny in an experience that reinforces the message? I'm not a big fan of one-liner. Oh, what's 1 + 5? I don't know. I don't like adding a joke. Find the humor in the situation and let us share that, because we want to laugh about experiences. And especially if we can relate to the experience as an audience, we laugh along with you as well. So hope that helps.
Yep. Thank you, Mark. I remember in your presentation, you showed the photographs when you were much younger. And brought a big smile on my face when you mentioned that you had your tie tucked in under your belt.
Yeah, I don't know why I did that, okay? But see, I can look at myself, I can laugh at myself. I feel safe laughing at myself. And if I can make you laugh, that's great. That's wonderful. Because at least I'm not causing someone to laugh at someone else's expense. It's easy to make you laugh at me. You know, my kids have had fun laughing at me and people enjoy that. And sometimes you can also get humor by exaggeration. In my contest speech, I talked about watching a Disney cartoon, Beauty and the Beast. I said, you know, you can't watch it just once because your kids won't let you. Me, I've seen it 13 times since last Monday. And that last line, since last Monday, the timing is important. Somebody asked about build up to the punchline. Timing is also important. I've seen it 13 times since last Monday. I paused and then dropped that line and then they laughed. Okay. So it's you practice it and you test it on people you know and trust. And chances are if you laugh and they laugh, your audience will laugh too. But it's part of the process to practice being funny. By the way, yes. I will tell you this. Yeah. It's over 700 people here. Big reveal. In high school, I had a nickname. I don't think you all saw it on that slide. My nickname was Sour Brown. S-O-U-R, sour. Why? Because I was not funny. I was not the happiest guy in the world. For my nickname, I was called Sergeant Sour. But I'm different now, thankfully. I've grown and I've changed. Anybody can grow and change. We're on a journey. We can make progress. Toastmaster Suman, go ahead.
Oh, there are so many nuggets of wisdom, insights that it's difficult to take away. Thank you, by the way, for allowing us to record this session so that those participants would want to maybe take a look. If the request is sent, we will send the recording file or a link to them. Moving on. I got another question from, now this is the division evaluation winner. So when we do provide feedback and evaluate, she is Toastmaster Priya Chapagai, and she asks, slightly longish, so please bear with me.
Yep.
Every time I speak, I seem to simultaneously also think in my head what people must be thinking about what I just said. And this tends to make me really self-conscious and nervous. Can you provide some tips on how to get out of my head and tackle the nervousness? The second part is any tips on acting, drama, hand gestures, or facial expressions while evaluating without being too over dramatic?
Okay. It's a two-part question. My dear friend, fellow Toastmaster, fellow world champion, fellow certified speaking professional, Darren LaCroix, has a little mantra. He says, if you're in your head, your emotions are dead. If you're in your head, your emotions are dead. Fact, speaking is emotional. You want to establish a connection with your audience, a relationship with your audience, okay? And if you're in your head, you're breaking that connection. You're cutting off the circuit. When you think about how do they think about my last words? Well, if you're giving them really good wisdom, all right, give the audience a chance to process your words. When you deliver a powerful line, if you're in your head, your emotions are dead. Think about that for a second. Let them think about what you say, not focus about how you look or how you dress. Trust me, I'll say again, if your audience is there, chances are they're there to hear from you. So let them take your words, and you have to approach, I begin to approach my speeches years ago with the belief that I have worked really hard to deliver a gift to my audience that will help them in some way. I don't believe that 100% of the time, everyone will accept everything I say as the truth and the epiphany. But I believe enough will receive value from my words that I share from my heart passionately. So I don't think about, they think I'm being wrong. I change my thinking to the positive. If I can reach one person with this, it's worth my while. So focus on the gift you give and the one who is there eager to receive. Secondly, what do I do with gestures? Gestures are merely an extension of your natural self. Too many people want to be speaker man, and they'll share from their heart the truth that was delivered to me, and I believe. And you get all this gesticulation and drama. You don't need to be dramatic. You can relive an experience you had, and your gesture should naturally flow out of who you are. If you're naturally low key and quiet, then don't try to do too many gesticulations and, don't do that. Just be naturally, authentically you. And I recommend this: if you're going to recreate a conversation, don't narrate, use dialogue, and have that conversation with two people. In my story, I use my father's words. Hey, son, can I see you? No, Dad, I have a very short layover. I won't get to see you. I didn't talk about it. I simply relived it. And that's one more tool. Change narration to dialogue, and that gives the audience the experience of seeing you present. But don't over dramatize. Don't try to be dramatic. Just be naturally you. Is what I'm saying.
Thank you. Amazing takeaways, Mark. So I'll now move on to our the normal speeches, where we have these international speech contests, which
ISC, yes.
winner. So we have Alpha, Toastmaster Alpha is there. I think I need to break these down into maybe twice.
Okay.
She has some fairly interesting question coming up. As the contest moves further, the difference between the winning speech and the second speech might be very, very slight.
True.
What techniques would you suggest that has made the winning speeches, especially at the World Championship stage, where everyone is a rightful winner, is already a rightful winner, stand out, even by 0.5% to get the crown?
First of all, I think authenticity is helpful, because some speakers are very eloquent. They look really good and they have a wonderful voice. They sound fantastic. But you need to stop giving speeches. What did he just say? Yeah, you need to stop giving speeches. You need to start giving experiences. I want to bring you back. Now, many of you are fairly new Toastmasters. I want to go back 6 years to Kuala Lumpur, 2014. Nana Jaya Hetiarachi took the stage. And he was so authentic. He was so real. He told his story. He was so vulnerable that we believed everything he said. He wasn't giving a speech. He was telling us a story of his own failure and how he overcame it. 2 years ago, Ramona J. Smith did the same thing. She told a story of, a failure in her marriage, of a failing in school, and how she had to bounce back from that. She was authentic, she was vulnerable, and she was genuine. Now, the truth is, judging in Toastmasters is very subjective, and each judge will respond in the way they think is best. But if you are naturally, authentically honest with the audience and simply share a story, and I'm going to reinforce my idea, it need not be sensational. You go back and watch the last 4 or 5 years of Toastmasters World Champion contests and see if you see anything really sensational there. Hardly likely. Just honesty, authenticity, and the genuineness that flows from their heart, and they deliver their message. And that's what seems to work well at the highest levels. You want to be different, uniquely you, but uniquely you. Don't imitate some other world champion. Bring yourself to the table. That's what the audience wants to see. And the judges too, I believe.
Absolutely. Don't make speeches, share your experiences.
Give experiences. That's it.
Amazing takeaway. She continues with another question, which says that any individual from different communities, we bring our own perceptions to the table, as do the audience members and the judges. As a speaker, how can one use these perceptions to his or her advantage? Not just in contests, but in general speaking situations as well.
It's a tricky question. Give me the first part again. Give me the first part again, please.
Okay. What she says is, as individuals come from different communities, people bring in their own perceptions to the table.
Okay.
So do the audience members and the judges. So as a speaker, how can someone use these perceptions to his or her advantage?
Tricky question, because we are truly international. And the individuals I've worked with, and I have coached individuals both in Toastmasters and professionally, I still do, it's my main source of income right now. I always emphasize the importance of trying to be as universal as possible. I am a Jamaican living in the USA, and I've spoken all over the world. And people seem to like me no matter where I go, because my approach has generally been one where my message is universal and applicable to a broader audience. I often coach individuals, when you go to the international, don't use too many local terms or too many local references, because a wider audience will not understand what that means. So you want to make sure your message is universal enough, but you maintain your identity from your culture, from your accent, from who you are. You maintain that, and the audience gets to see you in a genuine sense, but your message can connect with them across ethnic, across international, across religious and faith-based boundaries. You really want to connect with a broader audience with a universal message without losing your individuality. I hope that answers your question.
I think that's great insight, Mark. At least for me, it definitely makes sense. As you are there from US, you're connecting to our fraternity Toastmasters and guests here in Nepal, and you're doing it amazing. You've done it amazingly well, and just goes to show how much you are loved across countries and continents, Mark.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
On the side note, there's another question about any tips or habits that you inculcate to have a great voice like yours?
I think I'm not a voice expert. The basic voice, I think, is God-given. But if we tend to get excited and our voices get really high and we don't speak from a natural place. It's almost as if we are calm, we are honest from our hearts, and we allow ourselves to speak without trying to be too deep or trying to be too high, just speak naturally from our hearts. Whatever voice you have to use. Now, you may envy, and trust me, I have voice envy. I've heard some great voices, but I realize the one I have is mine. I must treat it well. I must drink my water and nourish my instrument and simply be me. Because at the end of the day, the value you bring by your words will override the power or the weakness of your voice.
I think that's something to mull over and chew a lot of cud on, and possibly try and emulate some of the things that you're trying to say.
Thank you.
So moving on to the wider audience, I have a flurry of questions coming in. I don't know if we'll have the time to do it.
I'll try to be quick. I'll try to be quick. Even short.
We have another half an hour of question and answers, so I think we can take another 5-6 questions.
Sure.
So I now have in Kathmandu, in Division A, we have 6 areas. So some of the questions are coming from members from those clubs and areas. One is from Banishore Toastmasters Club, which is area A5. The question reads, how to master breathing technique during the speech, so that you are able to, you are not distracted from unwanted activities from the audience, because the audience might be doing a lot of distractful things. And
you mean breathing techniques?
Or breathing, or that's what the question reads.
I understand the question again, and there are those who would tell you how breathing really has an impact on the speaking. Honestly, I don't often focus on my breathing during my presentation. That generally happens before I speak. I calm myself, I center myself. You need that time to really get yourself ready. And there's no need for you to rush through your material. I find if I pause and take a breath, it'll calm me down if I'm excited. And, I don't want to speak when I'm out of breath. So if I need to pause between a sentence, I try to frame all my sentences in one breath. If I can't, then I'll take the breath and allow myself to compose myself. Because if I try to rush to get everything out at one time, certainly my breathing becomes labored, my brain gets distracted, and everything I see can cause panic, and it can really throw me off. But you have the responsibility to be in control of yourself first. So when you begin from a place of calm, even if you're excited, it's controlled excitement, and that can manifest in your breathing. So before I go on, today I was saying, man, I got to meet all these people. Let me just remain calm, say a prayer. It's going to be a good day. And also, good breathing gives you good voice as well. So be calm. Don't rush. You are there. They can't continue without you because you're the speaker. You know what I mean? So, and enjoy the experience. Don't consider it a labor or a chore. Enjoy the opportunity to bless others.
Thank you, Mark. What happens is when Toastmasters members or guests get to see brilliant speakers like you, and there are a few Toastmasters in Nepal who command that little bit of respect. When they see that, they think that these people are very perfect, and whatever you have done, you haven't made any mistakes. Have you been human sometimes, Mark, and made mistakes in a professional setting?
I could tell you some stories. Yes, I've had times I felt I was so bad I wanted to quit. I had a paid engagement that I didn't think went very well. I called my friend Morgan MacArthur, who was a 1994 world champion. I said, Morgan, it was terrible. They never had me come back. It was awful, blah, blah. I began to cry and moan on him. And Morgan is an old veterinarian, and he used a veterinary metaphor. He said, buddy, get back on the horse. Let's go back and do it again. Because you learn from the mistakes. You learn from the errors that you make. And I'm continually a work in progress. See, if I stop learning, I stop living. I said to you that progress is a process. It's a journey. And that red X, our destination, we don't really ever get there. I continue to be on that same journey. And I'm very, very human. Like I said, you showed me that kid who I showed you with that funny face and the buck teeth. That's really who I was. I'm going through a journey. Now, bear in mind, to be fair to yourselves, I went to my first Toastmasters meeting in 1992, 28 years ago. Okay, so this is a lot of experience talking, not just somebody who's been around for the last 6 months. So don't, please don't compare your performance or your presentation style to mine. I am still learning, but I've got over 25 years doing this. It's a journey we're on. Let's just keep walking together.
Let's keep on walking together, Mark. But then there are members who still feel that this is a question from Chitwan Landmark Club, which is a new club in our division.
Congratulations.
Where, members do try to make eye contact, hand gestures, and stage movement. How do you make it in a free flow without being conscious while speaking? You did mention a bit in your presentation, but because the question has come back again.
Don't focus on the gesture. If you focus on the message you're trying to portray, and your hands naturally move in a certain way, then be natural. If you want to indicate something, and you're mentioning, I had to go way over there and wait for this man for what, 15 minutes? Did that seem natural? Yeah, I had to go way over there, wait for him for 15 minutes. That's natural. But don't try to contrive what would be the best gesture to use to show how I lifted the trophy that day. Don't overthink it. Ask yourself this: how would I present myself in normal, everyday conversation? See, the person they see at conversation over coffee or a latte or a smoothie, if you like smoothies, should be the same person they see on stage. Which is why I say, don't give a speech, give an experience. And the experience is spending time with you. It has to be natural. Don't overthink it. However you would deliver it with a few friends, do the same thing with a few more friends. That's all. That's my approach.
Thank you. So moving on to another query this is from a banker from Prabhu Bank.
It
says
excellent.
That no matter what you say, nervousness is always there when you're giving a speech. So apart from what you have said, is there another tip, or is there another way to overcome the nervousness?
I have turned nervous. I have channeled nervousness into excitement and enthusiasm. I tell and I'll be honest, if I ever get nervous, and guess what? World champions get nervous too. If I ever get nervous, it's for one reason: I'm not fully prepared. If I'm not fully prepared, that's when I get nervous, because I know I'm not bringing my best. But if you have worked on this presentation and you know your material and you are confident that what you have will help your audience, will educate your audience, will uplift your audience, will bless your audience, My approach is, I just can't wait to deliver this to them. I have worked hard for them. It is my gift to them, and I can't wait. So I channel the energy that would have been nervous into the excitement and from the joy, the privilege, and the honor of delivering what I worked on. But on the front end, I have to have put the work in first. Confidence comes from preparation and the desire to serve. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Thank you. There's another new club, which is outside of Kathmandu, which is in Butwa. So fairly similar, but a little bit of twist is, what is the best way to learn adding humor in an impromptu situation? So if you're prepared, it's okay, possibly, but if you have to respond impromptu, how do you inject humor?
That's a good question. Spontaneous humor is often the result of one's personality, one's level of observation. And some people are very, very quick-witted. They can just immediately find something funny. But again, I go back to what I said earlier. In conversation with family, friends, and your Toastmasters club, they can be your guinea pigs to try things out. Some will fail, some won't. But along the line, you'll find something that works, and then you build on that. You work on that. You practice that. You do it over and over again. And before long, you find yourself being aware of what's funny. You can see funny in an Uber ride. You can see funny with a guy on a bicycle down the street. You can see funny anywhere, because now you begin to look for it. You begin to acknowledge it, and you tune your brain to ask the question, what might be funny about that? So it begins with a thinking process, a thought process. Let's find and uncover the funny. And before long, it becomes part of the way you think. It takes time, but progress is a process.
So in your personal progress as a speaker over the past 20 years, what are the things that you have personally changed or improved? Or were there something different that you used to do earlier on and now is it different, especially in the speaking world? How have you evolved?
Can I say everything?
Yeah, we have time. Yes.
One thing definitely is I used to throw some jokes in. I don't do jokes anymore. I find humor in my life. I was a guest keynote speaker at a district conference in the USA many, many years ago as an opening keynote speaker. And I told a joke that was applicable to my presentation, and it was really funny. I got a good laugh. Yeah. At lunch, an international director came in to deliver the lunchtime keynote. That particular director had not heard my keynote speech. And in their speech, they told the same joke at the same conference to the same audience. And then they realized, oh, that was a joke they both read somewhere. And that, in my mind, affected my credibility. So for my authenticity and my credibility, I stopped telling jokes and I began to uncover humor from my life. True, my family is a wonderful source of humor. I laugh at myself a lot, but that was one thing I changed. A second thing that I changed was I really saw the value of getting someone to be as a coach, to guide me and help me and direct me. Even now, after all these years, there are individuals I will go to and I will lean on them and get advice from them and turn to them, because everyone can get coaching and get correction and get help along the way. So don't think because I've achieved what I have so far, it doesn't mean I need help. No, I still see the value of getting other people to help me. And also the art of writing. I've worked on my writing and how to craft a good speech. And of course, one of my favorites is storytelling. I've really worked on the art of storytelling, of using dialogue, of becoming characters, and finding out what's really important in a story and getting rid of what's unimportant, getting down to the details. So I've learned a lot, my friend, and I'm still growing, still learning, and still finding new ways to inspire my audiences. I hope that's a good answer for your question.
My takeaway there, Mark, is that you are saying that you are still learning.
Of course.
Just you know, for all of us here, for a lot of us who say that we have come to a point where maybe we don't need to learn. I've finished my CC or done my 20 projects. I don't need to learn. I don't want to be a Toastmaster anymore. But I guess this is a strong message for all of us to say that, yes, as I always say, learning continues.
Yes, I agree.
So we move on to another set of questions. In a speech, this is from a Paisipati Toastmasters Club. In a speech, what does the people remember the most or the longest? Is it the content, is it the gestures, or the vocal variety? Now, what I observed was you didn't use so much of visual aids that Toastmasters are told, you must perfect the art of it. Of course, from the slides and
Yes.
definitely the polls, but as an individual, there was no much there. So how does that work? What do people remember? Content, gestures, or vocal variety?
I have found that while gestures are remembered, I mean, like my friend Darren LaCroix back in 2001, I coached him and he fell on the stage in a speech called Ouch. He fell on his face on the stage. People remember that because it was dramatic, but it wasn't just for show. It was an integral part of his message. But I've also found that people remember your demeanor, your attitude, but they also remember the stories that you tell. So story selection is important because it's a trigger for the audience to remember the story, because chances are, if they remember the story, then they quite likely will recall the message, and they most definitely remember you. And again, that's what I believe. Now, I don't know what your experience is, having been to Agra two years ago and heard my stories and met my wife and met me, but I would hope that something I said was able to resonate, not just a gesture, because a gesture is only a small part, but the value comes from the stories and the messages. So strive to tell great stories that paint pictures, that touch emotions, and that reinforce the message you want to deliver, and let your personality also shine through. Because as much as the audience wants to hear you, they really want to know you. And that's going to be important.
Stories and how to craft those stories, absolutely. In Nepal, we normally our primary language that most of us speak here is Nepali, a local language, and we have different many languages. So for most of us, English is not the first language, and it does not come very naturally to us. So how do you manage do you need to learn the language first to become a better speaker in English? Or this is from Agni group, a guest who is asking, how do you also maintain number of words to speak in front of a group of people who are from a very wise background? Because if they are senior to you and all, so how do you manage that?
Two things. Number one, I realized there's power in simple words with few syllables that directly transfer a meaning. There is a belief that we need to have all these wonderful, fancy words. We need to show ourselves as being eloquent to be seen as good speakers. The idea of speaking is to present an idea in a clear and concise way so your audience can respond or react to it. So you don't need a lot of big words to do it. And I commend everyone here for whom English is a second or third language. I only speak two languages, English and poor English. Okay, so again, I mean, you smile. It was spontaneous humor. But I also believe in the value of building your vocabulary whenever you can. I'm a self-confessed word nerd. I was in high school, and one day a young man came to my classroom. I must have been 13 years old or something like that. And he knocked on the door and said, "Excuse me, sir, I need to borrow a dictionary." One of my classmates said, "Hey, Brown, this kid wants to talk to you." Ha, 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 ha. Because I would read the dictionary as a matter of course. I just did that. And even now on my mobile device, I have an application here that is called Dictionary. And I can get a word of the day. You can't see it, but I'll get a word of the day right there. Yeah. It's on my phone. So I hear a new word, I'm going to look it up. I want to know what the word means and how can I use it. So even here, I'll be 60 years old next year, but I'm still learning my own language, my primary language. I'm still learning it. So when given a chance to learn a new word, by all means, learn it. That's why I love the word of the day. It gives us all a chance to expand our vocabulary. And I love the idea of really trying to use it in table topics, in evaluation, in prepared speech, wherever you can. It can't hurt to build your vocabulary. So learn the language well. You don't need to master it to use it. Begin to use it. but continue to learn it as you go. It's my primary language, and I'm still learning it.
As I rightly said, we so much undermine the word of the day during our Toastmasters meeting.
Valuable, valuable.
It's unbelievably valuable. And if we have been able to practice it, sometimes what happens is the word of the day is there at the meeting, and after we finish the meeting, we kind of forget it and say, oh, what is the word sometimes?
Put it in a prominent place where you can all see it. In my club in Macon, Georgia, I think they put it front of the room at the lectern, and they put it someplace else. I've been to clubs where it's at the front and the back. At the front, when you speak, you're facing the audience. You forget it's there on the lectern. But they put it at the back of a big poster. So it's at the back and the front. You can't miss it. And you really should try to use it. I know I certainly do.
This is an interesting question, Mark. Different kind of speeches, evaluation, there's a constant way of moving across and improving. But is there an end of evaluation? Is there anything called a perfect speech, Mark?
That's a good question, because that is a subjective question. Because as in speech contests, I thought that was amazing. Didn't do anything for me. If you were to do it in a linear fashion, well, they had so many words. They pronounced his words well. They flowed together. They made coherent sentences. On paper, it may look like perfection. But then there is a presentation. It could be the most wonderfully crafted speech delivered in a monotone voice with no facial expression whatsoever. And the words fall flat because now the meaning is diluted. So the actions, the pauses, the volume, the speed, the intensity are all parts of the package. So the words on a sheet alone do not make it perfect. The presentation process is what we want to work on, not just our words, but our eyes speak, our faces speak, our bodies speak. And it might serve us well to take our next presentation and video record ourselves. Here's an idea for you, everybody. Video record yourself, okay? The hard part is watching yourself. And ask yourself, is my face, are my body movements, are they congruent with my words? Are they congruent with my emotion? If I said, I can't tell you all just how excited I was to be on a Zoom meeting with the wonderful Toastmasters of Nepal. I am so thrilled I can't contain myself. Do you believe this face? No. The words could be perfect, but the face is not congruent. So it's an entire package. It's not just a perfect speech on paper or a perfect presentation. And because it's subjective, you simply want to be your best of being who you are and deliver your best. I can't offer much more than that.
Thank you. We have a guest who is a national cricketer from Nepal.
Wonderful.
His name is Sheraton Vasalkar. Here's a very one-liner question. Have you ever frozen while speaking on a professional speaking assignment stage?
Have I ever frozen while speaking? Yes, indeed. I froze in 1994 in the World Championship, and I made words up. I froze again in the 1995 semifinals, where I completely lost myself in my script. And in my mind, I was saying, say something, you fool, say something. And I don't recall what I said. I said, sometimes I can be so sad. And in my brain, I went down to my next line of my script, because for a speech contest, only 7 minutes, I worked with a script because I wanted every word to count. And I found my next paragraph and I kept going. My dear friend and world champion Ed Tate in 2016 was a keynote speaker in Washington, D.C., and he froze at the beginning of his keynote, completely froze. And if you have the magazine, please read the article, 7 Seconds of Terror, by my buddy Ed Tate, who talks in detail about what happened to him. But yes, I have frozen, and I have found ways to get around it. I had to be quick on my feet, had to be creative, fill the gap, and keep going. Sometimes you pause, compose yourself, and keep going. But don't panic, don't panic, don't panic. And I had to learn that over time as well.
If you do panic, what happens? What do you do? we tell yourself don't panic, and you are prepared not to panic. You prepare also, but at some point in time you do. So what do you do?
I think what I'd probably do, knowing my personality, I'd be honest enough to say, for a moment there, I lost my train of thought. Please forgive me. And Ed Tate did that. He actually asked the audience, has this ever happened to you? And the audience was willing him to continue. Don't forget, the audience wants you to succeed, not to fail. So if you understand they're on your side, they want you to do well. So I would confess, for a second there, I lost my train of thought. Just give me a moment, please. And I would believe my audience is courteous enough to grant me a little grace, to give me 3 or 4 seconds to recompose myself, because I came with something valuable to share. That's Mark Brown's perspective on it.
We have another interesting question from distinguished Toastmaster Banu Tabadi, who asks, what was your turning point from Sar Brown to Mark Brown?
That's a good question. Well, again, I don't mean to proselytize, but from my experience in my life, it certainly was, 1, maturing, getting older and wiser, and 2, having a stronger life of faith, the faith that I practice, and having people around me who were encouraging. And I believe somewhere back there was that really awful temper sitting around, but I don't pay much attention to it now. I focus on things more positive. And quite honestly, after having a brush with death back in 1993, it puts so much more in perspective. And I am a much more calm person. And people can't believe I was that ill-tempered, loud, boisterous kind of kid. But we change, we grow, and progress is a process.
As you process and progress, as you said, Mark, there's a question from a guest, which I think is a question that many guests who have attended Toastmasters meeting and have seen the setting and how it works. The question reads from guest Suraj, who says that he recalls your presentation where you said that you were a guest for 4 months in a Toastmasters meeting before you joined. So what was the thing that you came across? What was the last, possibly the push, or what happened that made you believe that maybe, yes, joining Toastmasters is something that is good for you?
Well, by continuing to attend, I saw the value, because at my first meeting, I saw Mike Kane and another lady who were just phenomenal. They were natural, they were eloquent. And I was at a company where I already felt inferior. I didn't have the credential, I didn't have the college degree. Did I even belong there? So the thoughts in my head were getting to me. See, my thoughts were my threats. But I realized that they had grown by being involved in that club for so long. So eventually, when I began to see the value of it, and of course, my company subsidized my fees, I said, I'll jump on in. And I have absolutely no regrets for doing so. Even after winning that title 25 years ago, I maintained my membership. And I attended my last club meeting last week, Monday. We meet every other Monday now because of the COVID. But I attended my club meeting and I got best table topic speaker, which is kind of cool. But I pay my dues. I get the email every April, every October, dues. I pay them. And I maintain membership because I still find value in the program.
That is a wonderful message for a lot of our Toastmasters and possibly guests here. We are mindful of the time, Mark, and I would want you to take over for the next 5 minutes or so, that you said that you have some important takeaways for us, Mark. Over to you.
Well, I thank you for that. I really appreciate that. I'm going to share my screen briefly. Just to give you one final thought. And I call it one final thought because I would be remiss if I don't reveal the deepest truth about me as a presenter, as a human being, as a Toastmaster. It's this. I want to encourage you to, along this journey we call speaking, the progress is a
Mark, we're kind of losing you.
Am I audible?
Yes, Mark, you're back.
Okay, thank you. I got a notice saying Zoom crashed unexpectedly.
Oh.
Thankfully, it was a very short crash, and I am back. So I'll try this one more time. I'll try and share my screen one more time. My strength comes from the fact that I lean on my loved ones who help me to enjoy my journey. And I want you to meet my A-team, if you would call it that. My loved ones are my family, and my family means so much to me. So you could tell where I am there. From the other end, that's my son, Joel. He is a 33-year-old manager of staffing in the Washington, D.C. public school system in Washington, D.C. Next to him is my daughter, Andrine. I call her my princess, my firstborn. She's 36 years old. She is the first African-American senior attorney in her division of the Social Security Administration with the U.S. government. The first. Am I bragging? Yes, I am. My daughter is battling multiple sclerosis, and she is my hero. She maintains a level of physical fitness. She pushes me, she challenges me, and I really appreciate her deeply and dearly. In the middle is our son, David. He's 25. He's here with us in Central Georgia. He's very skilled with music, recording, producing, and engineering, and a great voice. And of course, next to him is my wife, Andrea. We had our 38th wedding anniversary on 17 April, and I was blessed and privileged to have her with me in Agra for the district conference back in 2018. This team means more to me than I can say, but I will share one brief story about the power of the loved ones to help you overcome your fears and achieve your goals. In 1995, I qualified to be in the World Championship. We were living in New York at the time, and the contest was held in California on the other end of the country. At the end of the contest, the crowds were cheering. We got the trophy. It was a wonderful time, and my daughter gave me a greeting card in an envelope. It was sealed, and I didn't have time to look at it. So I put it in my pocket, went to my hotel room 2 hours later to go to the pool, and felt this card in my pocket. I said, "Oh, what is this?" So I opened it up. I unsealed the envelope, ripped it open, and in there, the card said from the kids, "Congratulations, Daddy, we knew you could do this." I said, "Honey, isn't this so great what these kids did?" She said, "Baby, you don't understand." She said, "Listen, those kids wanted to get you a card. So they saw that card, they picked that card, and they bought that card with your money. And they signed it, and they sealed the envelope before we left New York to come to California. Because that's how much your kids believe in you. That's how much your kids see the work you put in. And that's how much confidence your kids have that you can deliver a great presentation." Now, I can't explain that I can't tell you it was miraculous. I'll just tell you that my team is the team I lean on. That level of confidence in me has spurred me on to this day to continually strive to be better every single day to serve you, my audience, and the people with whom I work. I'm going to ask you to lean on your loved ones to help you become the best that you can be along this journey of speaking in life. And I know our time has been short. It's almost 2 hours. I can't believe it. And maybe you want to get in contact with me. Maybe you want to connect with me. You can do so. You can simply screenshot this screen to find out how to get hold of me, or you can see my website. You can get my free newsletter there and some free gifts as well. I post videos frequently on all these particular social media sites. And if you like podcasts, then you can scan this QR code and listen to the Unforgettable Presentations podcast. Darren LaCroix and I dispense wisdom every week. We also interview some of the top speakers in the world on our podcast. Every week, we release a new episode on a Thursday. Apple, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio. If you like podcasts, use your phone right now and scan that. I've given you time to do that. If you're serious about speaking and you would consider professional and personal coaching, you can always get hold of me. My website, you can get a free MP3 when you sign up. That's to get to my main site. But if you're really serious and you want to consult with me about coaching, we can do that offline. But you can find out more by scanning this QR code to get to my website. You can check it out. If after that you want to contact me, there's a contact page on my website. You can contact me individually, privately, and we can talk about expert coaching if that is what you want to do. That being said, I want you all to know how honored I am to have the privilege of serving you today and sharing some insights with you today. I hope you've picked up at least one nugget from this conversation. Remember, you don't want your thoughts to be your threat. Our thoughts can make us thrive. You don't want your words to be your weaknesses. You want your words to share the wisdom. Change the way you think about yourself. Change the way you think about what you have to say. You don't need sensational stories. You need sincere stories, honest from the heart. Find ways to capture your stories. Put them in files. Use them. Test them. Try them. Stay in your club. If you're brand new, join a Toastmasters club. It's the perfect laboratory for becoming better as a presenter. And if you need more, just come see me. My contact information is also here. Once again, Toastmaster Suman and friends, thank you for the honor of being your guest, of being your servant today. I wish you all massive success. I urge you to dream big, to work bigger, and to be wise and sanitize. Toastmaster Suman, I return control to you.
It has been our absolute honor, Mark, for you to be with us for this 2-hour-long journey. I know how much time you have put into this. We had our tech checks yesterday, even today, to ensure that everything goes well. And we have had a wonderful run for this almost 2-hour interaction. And thank you so very much, Mark. Please convey our regards collectively to your family and strength to your daughter also as we move along. And we'll make sure that the information that you just shared, Mark, we will put it in an email and send it to all the participants who have registered today. We'll do that. Now we're moving on to the end segment of thank you. So we have a wonderful Toastmaster, a brilliant, amazing individual, Toastmaster Subrat Paudel. He is an active member of Toastmasters. He has amazing connection. He is a businessman. He's a trader. And yesterday he introduced himself as somebody who does business with FMCG goods and also sell liquor as well sometimes, But he's a passionate Toastmaster. I would now want to have Toastmaster Subrat take over the virtual floor. Over to you, Toastmaster Subrat.
Thank you, distinguished Toastmaster Suman. Well, Mark, this was an awesome session on fearless presentation. Thank you. Now, I really have run out of words and expressions, and I would like to collectively put my gratitude from Nepal to you. Well, I did not want this session to end today at all, and never ever have I ever felt 2 hours were very short. I'm sure there was much to share with us. However, on the other hand, I heard so much from you, and I felt that this entire 2 years was being downloaded in an hour. Mark, today one important thing I am taking back home is all fears I have been assumed by myself. Now, how interesting is that? As I have taught myself to this belief, I can also talk myself out of it, right? I'm sure the audience are taking back much more. Now, audience, please stay back. There's a surprise at the end of my thank you note. Mark, I really love what you said. Our thoughts can be threats, and our words can be weaknesses. How true is that? How often are we scared when someone calls you in front of a group of people, probably in the table topic session? You have to organize your thoughts and put it in a way to influence, impact, and to inspire people. The second thing, Mark, I loved about today's presentation was that we all have our unique stories. And it's okay to be different, to share varied experiences which have the ability to connect to a universal audience. The main thing to note is that you do not have to lose your individual identity while delivering your message, which in fact builds authenticity and credibility in your speeches. Mark, expressions can't come here, but heart. Well, what a wonderful job. And the biggest strength comes from family. Once again, Mark, thank you so much for such an enriching experience. I'd like to thank the organizing team who worked around the clock at the meeting led by our division director, distinguished Toastmaster Suman Shakir, and Club Director of District 41, District Toastmaster Ranjit Acharya, for your valuable suggestions and support throughout this event. To all the Toastmaster members of Nepal, special thanks to every one of you. Also to acknowledge the presence of Santa, the founder and director of.
Super, you're breaking. Can you come closer? We cannot hear you. Wait.
Hello?
Yeah, please come closer and speak.
Okay. So also like to thank the presence of different corporates who have attended today's meeting. So from Naval Bank, Sada Group, Sunrise Bank, Agni Group, Continental, Noble Hospital, Sunrise Bank, National Navy. Now, I have a surprise photograph. I request the Toastmaster for today, Master Virendra, Master to please take a photograph. I request all the members who attended this session to please open your cameras so that we could have a photograph. Is the photograph done?
No, so can everyone to turn on their videos so that we can take pictures?
Dear members, please turn on your video so that we can have a group photograph.
If they're comfortable.
Give us a signal if it is done.
Okay, done.
Wonderful. Today's session. Thank you so much.